everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you guys my full review and several day wear test. I've been wearing this for several days. This is the new concealer from Mcgrath Labs. So this is called the Vanish Sublime Perfection Concealer, and I actually got this in the shade M15, which is what I wear in the foundation. And full disclosure, had I to do that over with, I probably would have went up a couple of shades, but when I ordered it, I was in a time of grieving. My grandfather passed away, and I was like, okay, I just need to hurry and order this, but I wasn't really thinking straight when I ordered it. So I actually wear the shade M15 in the foundation. So when I heard that she was launching a concealer, as you know, I have struggled so much with ordering from Pat McGrath. Her website, during like October, November, December, anytime I ordered anything, it would take a month to get it. It was a nightmare. So I actually waited for this to pop up on the Sephora website, and I ordered it from Sephora. This concealer retails for $32. You get 0.16 fluid ounces, which is 4.7 milliliters, which I will get into the price breakdown and compare it to some of the other concealers that I have in my collection based on the price. It is a creamy, lightweight, full coverage concealer with a natural radiant matte finish that brightens the under eye and hides the appearance of blemishes. Like I said, it's a full coverage, natural finish. It's for normal, dry, combo, and oily skin. It is formulated with a Vita Serum Complex to moisturize and help fight the appearance of wrinkles, and optically diffusing pigments to help unveil a stunning soft focus effect that blurs imperfections without settling into fine lines. It's supposed to be flexible, breathable formula that blends with the foundation for an all-day wear. Concealer comes in 36 shades, which I do appreciate. That is one thing about it. They released a ton of shades, and I love that. They did launch a concealer brush. I didn't end up buying the concealer brush, but I also bought the powder. Powder is the Vanish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Setting Powder. So as you know, if you guys are new to my channel, welcome. I am 40 years old. I have dry, normal skin. The thing that I have had to stop doing is setting my under eyes with powder. I have so many different powders, and I've tried so many different powders, and no powders look good underneath my eyes. They just don't. So I just have stopped using powder underneath my eye altogether, and I've actually started to like my concealer more. But I'm still on the hunt to try to find that really nice, finely milled, beautiful powder that lays beautifully over the wrinkles under the eye, which is such a delicate area, but doesn't look crusty and cakey and gross throughout the day, because that's the thing that I cannot stand. So when I saw this pop up, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a try. So this retails for $30, and I have it in the shade medium. There are 3 different shades. There's light, medium, and deep. And it is a brilliant, blendable, ultra weightless under eye setting powder that brightens and blurs for a luminous, soft focus effect. It is a light coverage, natural finish pressed powder. In targeted application, this lighter than air formula visibly blurs fine lines and imperfections for an all-day flawless appearance. So how I wanted to do this is, I have been wearing this concealer for several days, but on camera, I've only worn it twice. So the first day I wore the concealer on both under eyes, but I set one under eye with the powder and one without, just to see how the powder performs over top of the concealer. So then I've been wearing the concealer all weekend alone, but today I actually wanted to compare it to my new Holy Grail, which is my new Hourglass Vanish concealer that they just launched, and I am obsessed with this. This looks so beautiful underneath my eyes. Throughout this video, I will be doing, check-ins, showing you guys what the concealer looks like alone and with the powder. And then today I am, wearing both of them underneath the eyes. I wanted to see how these two compare, because the formula does seem very similar in comparison, especially when you just put them on the hand. So I'm very curious. You guys know I love to do price breakdowns. So let's get started on the one from Pat McGrath. So this retails for $32. You get 0.16 fluid ounces, which is 5 milliliters. Comes in 36 different shades, and that makes it $6.40 per milliliter. So keep that in mind. It's $6.40 per milliliter. All right, let's talk about the new one from Hourglass. This one retails for $34. You get 0.2 ounces. It has 34 shades and it is $5.67 per milliliter. So the Pat McGrath is almost $1 more per milliliter just because of how much product you get. There's not a lot of product in this compared to the one in the Hourglass. So of course, even though it says it's $32 and this one is $34, you're getting less product. So keep all of that in mind. The next one we're going to compare it to is the new one from Dior. So this is the Dior Skin Correct. This is brand new from Dior. This one retails for $36. You get 0.37 ounces, which is 11 milliliters worth of product. It has 28 shades, and that makes it $3.27 per milliliter. So actually, this Dior concealer is almost half the price as the Pat McGrath concealer. So the Dior is almost half the price of the Pat McGrath. The Armani Beauty, the Power Fabric Concealer, is the exact same size as the Hourglass and the exact same price. It is $34. You get 0.2 ounces, 6 milliliters. It has 20 different shades, and it retails for $5.67 per milliliter. So these two are exactly the same price. The Pat McGrath is still almost $1 more, and the Dior is still way less than these three put together. And then finally, we have the one from Tom Ford. I just threw this one in there just to give you a comparison. The Tom Ford is the Emotion Proof. It retails for $54. You get 0.24 ounces, which is 7 milliliters. It has 12 shades, and that makes it $7.71 per milliliter. So this one is about $1, a little over $1 cheaper than the Tom Ford. So this is how it's priced. Tom Ford, we got the Pat McGrath, we got Hourglass and the Power Fabric, which are the exact same price. And then you have the Dior, which is the cheapest. So out of these five, the Pat McGrath is second place for being the most expensive. So keep that in mind. I know that a lot of people were thinking it was cheaper than some of the others out on the market, but it's not. Even though it's only $32, it still has less product than some of the others. So keep all that in mind. Let's jump into the powder price comparison. This little mirror cracks me up. Like, you can barely see your eye. I compared it to the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush Flawless Finishing Powder, which is very finely milled, just like this one is. But then I also wanted to compare it to the Becca Under Eye Powder. I know there's a lot of people that really love that one. I have it, but I don't know where it's at. So let's go ahead and compare those three. So the Pat McGrath powder retails for $30. You get 0.14 ounces, which is 4 grams worth of product. It comes in 3 different shades, and it is $7.50 per gram. Charlotte Tilbury, it retails for $45. You get 0.28 ounces, which is 8 grams worth of product. It comes in 3 different shades, and it retails for $5.62 per gram. So this one from Pat McGrath is $2 more per gram than the Charlotte Tilbury. We're noticing, you know, Pat McGrath stuff is very expensive. Her foundation was the exact same way, very high priced. The concealer's high priced, the powder's high priced. Wait till you compare it to the Becca though, and then you might forgive Pat McGrath. The Becca Under Eye powder retails for $25. You get 0.09 ounces, which is 2.7 grams. This is the Under Eye powder. It retails for $9.26 per gram. So I guess Pat McGrath is forgiven. She's not as expensive as Becca, but would you have ever thought that the Becca one would be that much money? Like, that's a lot of money per gram. I just like to do price comparisons just so that you guys can make an informed buying decision when you are buying these products, especially when you're talking about a high-end product. You want to know how much you're paying per gram. I think that's very important. So I hope that this information was helpful for you guys. Up here on the screen, you will see a shade comparison of shade 15 next to some of the other concealers that I spoke about in this video. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into the application portion of the video, and you guys can see me apply it. Also doing some check-ins, also comparing it to the Hourglass, wearing one on each eye. So without further ado, let's jump right into the application. Okay, so let's get playing with this new concealer from Pat McGrath. So this is the doe foot, and it's a decent doe foot, and it has a decent bend to it. So it's not too big, not too small. All right, so let's go ahead and apply a little bit of this. Oh, was my camera was focusing on my mirror. I'm sorry. I'm gonna kind of push that into my skin with a sponge. That looks pretty. It's very lightweight, but nice coverage. Interesting. Okay, so on this side, I'm just gonna put it on and blend it out with a sponge without the brush. Okay, so that is very lightweight, and actually I like that shade. I thought it was gonna be too dark, but I actually really like that shade. It's just a little bit lighter than my foundation, and I like it. Okay, so this is the foundation in shade 15, and this is the concealer in shade 15. So it's pretty much the same shade. I would say maybe the concealer is a little bit peachier, but if I like this concealer, I think I might buy a shade lighter, and then I can use this for the summer, which the summer's coming up. So I don't mind doing that. I have 2 shades in the Hourglass concealer, which I love. I think this looks really good though. Like, I wouldn't say that it's too dark. I think it kind of melts into my skin. You know, as I've been sitting here talking, I feel like it's set down, but it still maintains that luminosity. So you can kind of see that it still has a little bit of a luminosity. Now, I wouldn't say that this is a luminous concealer. I would say it's just more of a satin natural. It's not luminous and it's not matte. It's just kind of in the middle. And of course, to test out the powder, I'm only gonna use powder on one side and not powder the other. So I'm just gonna go in and grab a little bit, tap off the extra. Look at this little itty bitty mirror. Like, that mirror is teeny. So this side is powdered, this side is not. Okay, that powder looks pretty. I do not like powder underneath my eyes. I'm very picky about powder underneath my eyes. I can't find anything that looks good underneath my eye and doesn't age me. So we'll see how it wears, you know, we'll see, because the thing about powder I've noticed is that if I put it on, it looks good for a minute, and then throughout the day, it doesn't look the best. So of course, we're gonna be doing some wear tests, and you know, I'm gonna wear this all day, and I will come back and do kind of check-ins throughout. All right, coming in extra close. Again, this is the side that I powdered on. This is the side with no powder. Okay, so it is 10:30 in the morning. So I'm gonna go ahead and go about the rest of my day. I will, you know, take you with me so you can see what this looks like in natural daylight, and then I will come back tonight, show you guys what it looks like 12 hours later, and then tomorrow we will test it next to the Hourglass, see how that works, and then I will give you guys my full final thoughts. So I will see you guys in my next check-in. Okay, so I'm back for a midday check-in on the concealer. I'm actually in my daughter's car. I gotta go and run some errands. It's almost 5 o'clock here, so it's 4:42. So it's been on for about 7 hours, and I'm gonna come in real close and hope you can see it. I'm gonna actually pull down the rear view mirror so that I can like look in the mirror and talk to you guys at the same time. So the thing that I'm noticing that I'm not loving is I've got some pretty heavy duty creasing going on, meaning that when I do this, like this has been kind of really creasy, more so than my other concealers. And of course, all concealers are gonna crease. That's just kind of the role of the game. When you wear a concealer, it's going to crease, it's gonna get in your wrinkles, it just is what it is. However, there are some concealers that we know that crease more than others. So the thing that I'm noticing is it's like creasing this way versus this way. You know, having it crease this way in those wrinkles is pretty normal. It's just right here. I've maintained the coverage pretty well. I kind of feel like the coverage is still good, but this is definitely a concealer that I need to wear for 2 or 3 days because I just don't quite know how I feel about it. and I don't know if I love it and I don't know if I hate it. I think I'm kind of like right in the middle right now. I did love it when I first applied it. I thought it was really smooth and looked really pretty. And I would say that it still does. Let's come in real close and so you guys can see what this looks like in natural lighting, in daylight, in the car. Because we all know that the rear view mirror and the car and all that is like, you know, if it looks good there, it's going to look good anywhere. The powder, you can definitely tell that this side is powdered and this side isn't. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but this side just, you know, this side looks a little bit more smooth. So that under eye powder, it might be a good one. I only used a tiny bit, so I can tell it's a pretty pigmented powder, and you know, it seems like a little bit goes a long way. The thing that I do like about it is like this part right here is blurred and this part isn't. Anyways, that's it for this check-in. I will see you guys in my 12-hour check-in. Okay, everyone, it is 11:30 right now. So I am seeing exactly what I see when I apply powder underneath my eyes. And I was really hoping that that would not happen because I really liked this powder when I first applied it. And I would say the first several hours. But right up here, when I pull you guys in, you will notice that this kind of looks natural. And even though I've lost the coverage on this side, this one, you can see the powder sitting on the skin. It looks much more clustered. You can see the makeup underneath this eye. This eye actually looks pretty decent, even though I've lost the coverage, I feel like. Here we are 13 hours later. I think the coverage looks pretty good for being 13 hours later. I'm curious to see how it holds up next to the Hourglass concealer tomorrow. So this is the eye that I set it with the Pat McGrath powder. And you see how I've got kind of this like chunky makeup mess going on? This side doesn't have it. So this side looks fairly decent. It's just I've lost the coverage, but it doesn't look really makeup-y where it's kind of balling up and kind of bunching up, but I get it on this side. And that is exactly what happens every time I put powder underneath my eyes. This is what it starts to look like. And, you know, this side still looks pretty good and kind of smooth. Like I don't feel like there's kind of makeup buildup. I am impressed. You can tell that I've lost the coverage on this side that I didn't on this side, but I do like how this side doesn't feel dry. It just feels natural and I can't feel concealer sitting there. The thing about this concealer is it dries pretty quickly. So it's almost like once you put it on and you set it, it's there. It just sets. I gotta kind of play around with this one a little bit more. I'm on the fence about it. I like it and then I don't. And then I like it and then I don't. So I will see you guys in tomorrow's application. So it's been several days since I first applied this on camera. It is now Monday, March 2nd, and I've been wearing this all weekend long and I have got a really good feel for it. So now I'm going to compare it to the Hourglass. Obviously, Dune from Hourglass is a little bit darker. The one from Pat McGrath Labs is a little bit warmer, but I feel like they'll compare nicely. The one from Hourglass is definitely just a very smooth concealer. And this one from Pat McGrath is very smooth too. I'm curious how these are gonna wear next to each other. I really am. This is gonna be the Hourglass side. I'm also testing out a new foundation, so it's kind of perfect to do both of them together. I wipe off the applicator just to ensure that I am not using a lot of the product. I'm just gonna go ahead and apply some like this. This is how I have been applying the Hourglass concealer. As you guys know, recently my grandfather passed away, and I wore this concealer through the viewing and the funeral, and it held up so well through all my crying. And I even had people come up to me. They're like, how does your makeup still look so good after all the crying you've been doing? I'm like, I have no idea. This concealer has been just a very beautiful concealer. A little bit goes a really long way because it is such a thick, very pigmented formula. You don't need that much. Some people have been able to do just a few dots and call it a day. If you only like your concealer right underneath the direct under eye area, then I would just do a few dots and leave it. If you're like me and you like your concealer to be down on this part, then I suggest wiping off the applicator and then using what's on the applicator to kind of bring it back down, just so that you're not using a lot of it, but you get the amount that you need to drag it down farther. I want to use the same brush, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe this brush off on a towel. And I'm probably going to use my color switch just to ensure, that there's not a lot of product transfer. So anytime you have a thicker concealer, just wipe off the applicator. So now I'm just going to apply some just like I did. Now, the nice thing about both of these concealers is they're both full coverage. I have found with the Pat McGrath concealer that it's definitely a full coverage concealer. So this is the Hourglass side and this is the Pat McGrath side. I'm gonna go in and tap both of them out with my finger just to get all of the extra product sitting into the creases. To show up on camera, this one's a little bit more radiant than this one. This one's a little bit more of a soft matte. This one is a little bit more on the radiant side. But other than that, I think the coverage is the same. I feel like they apply the same. Yeah, so far, so good. Okay, so right now it is 9:44 a.m. in the morning. We'll see how they compare throughout the day. So I will see you guys in my first check-in. Okay, everyone, it is almost 5:30 and I have not had a chance to run my errands before it got dark. It gets dark here pretty early because it's in the middle of the winter. So I wanted to pop out here right outside my front door and just show you guys how these concealers are looking in natural lighting. So this is the Hourglass side. And then this is the Pat McGrath side. I feel like I've lost a little bit of the coverage on the Pat McGrath side, more so than the Hourglass side. I feel like the Hourglass side has held up its coverage more so than the Pat McGrath. People are driving by wondering what the hell I'm doing. Mind your business. Anyway, hopefully you guys can tell. I'm sorry about the noise of the cars driving by and all that, but I had to get out here and do a check-in so you guys could see what this looks like in natural lighting. But I think I think the Pat McGrath one looks still pretty good though. Like I said, both of these concealers kind of set down and they don't budge. I just wanted to pop out here and show you guys what it looks like. I'm going to start getting cold, so I'm going to go ahead and head in. But I will see you guys in my final thoughts later on this evening after wearing both of the concealers for 12 hours. So I will see you guys then. Okay, everyone, there it is. It's 11:15 on Monday evening, and so I've officially had both of these concealers on for 12 hours. Okay, so this was the Pat McGrath side. This is the Hourglass side. Okay, so my overall thoughts, I like this concealer. I do. I think it's really, really pricey for what it is, especially when you compare it to some of the other concealers that I have. So let's compare it really quick to the Dior Skin Correct. So the Pat McGrath has way more coverage than the Dior Skin Correct. The Dior is way more affordable, if you will, than the Pat McGrath, but I feel like the Dior has way less coverage. So let's just say that you're somebody out there that just wants a nice medium coverage concealer. The Dior is definitely it. I did not really get a full coverage situation out of this one. This is like, the Dior is a little bit more of a thinner formula and it just kind of melts into the under eye, but it doesn't give you that full coverage. This Pat McGrath definitely gives you the full coverage. You get a lot of coverage right off the bat. It's definitely pricey for what it is, but I would say it's not as thick as the Hourglass. So let's just say that you bought the Hourglass and you don't like the Hourglass. You felt like it was just too thick for your under eye and you returned it. I actually think you might like the Pat McGrath because I feel like the texture is not as thick, but it doesn't give me that smooth feeling that I get from the Hourglass. The Hourglass concealer, out of all the concealers that I have, I've said this from the day I started wearing this. This one smooths my under eyes like no other concealer I've ever had. It just has something magical in it. So flawless and lasts all day. The Pat McGrath does last all day. I have not really had any issues with this all the week. You know, I've wearing it. I would say this is probably the 4th day that I've worn this, and I've actually really liked this concealer. If I didn't already love the Hourglass, this might be one that I would probably start using on a daily basis. I will probably buy a shade lighter or two just so I can use it now and I can maybe just swap back and forth. But this would be one of my top 5 favorites. It's a decent, really nice concealer. With the Pat McGrath foundation, it's such a thin, kind of watery texture that I was really surprised that she launched something like this where it was just really full coverage for the under eye. I think she did an incredible job on the concealer. I don't feel like it's drying underneath the eye. I feel like it doesn't need to be set. So if you're like me and you don't like to wear foundation on your under eyes, I think you will really enjoy this. This is a decent concealer. I'm really impressed with it, actually. If you're in the market for a new concealer, and what you're looking for. Are you looking for that full coverage? If you are, I think this is a really nice option for full coverage, especially if you're looking for more of a, it says it's a matte finish. I wouldn't call it a matte finish. I typically do not like matte formulas. For me, I just cannot wear matte underneath my eyes, especially. Like I could probably get away with wearing matte all over my face if I hydrated my skin, you know, before going in with a matte foundation. But when it comes to a concealer, I just have to stay away from a matte formula. And I was really impressed that this is a very satin type of matte. It's not full matte. On a scale from 1 to 5, being, you know, the price, I would probably give it a 4. I think if it was a little bit cheaper, I would probably give it a 5 because it's a really, really good concealer. I don't know that I love it as much as I do the Hourglass, but it is pretty dang close. It's up there. Okay, as far as the powder goes, I like the powder. I think the powder is a decent powder. I feel like it works pretty good. I feel like it has a nice texture to it, almost a radiance to it. I don't know if you can tell as I swatch it, but it's very, very, very finely milled, very, very lightweight. And I feel like a little bit of this powder goes a really long way. I personally didn't love, so in the first day that I wore the Pat McGrath concealer, I actually preferred the concealer without it because by the end of the night, it was starting to look crusty. I wore this throughout the weekend just to try to get a feel for it, and I'm gonna wear it with other concealers. I haven't actually worn it with other concealers, only the Pat McGrath concealer. But as it stands now, with me wearing, you know, with one side and without, and then I think all weekend I wore it with, and then today I wore it without. I think I still prefer the concealer without the powder. I feel like the powder is really pretty, but I feel like it's only going to be good for those that don't have a dry under eye. If you have a dry under eye like I do, I just don't feel like this is going to be the answer for you. Plus it's very expensive. Like this powder is crazy expensive. However, in its defense, this is not an all over powder. So this is not something that you're going to want to use all over your face. This is only for the under eye. So because the price is so high, you're not going to go through it as much because you're only using it a little teeny bit underneath the eye. If you're somebody that just loves powder underneath your eyes, I think you'll enjoy this. If you're like me and you have struggled trying to find the right under eye powder, I don't know that this checks that box. So that's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for the love that you show me and my channel. It means so much to me. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Love you. Bye.